Hi, this is Chronicles, and I'm your host, Simon Rushton. Today, I'm going to talk about something happened yesterday. I had a ride, a fare I needed to pick up, and I was being texted to say, can you please let the rider know or be willing to go into the building to get the rider when you arrive. So clearly the person texting me wasn't the person who's going to be in the taxi. And I said, no problem. Got the message. They said, okay, thank you. They described the lady. They said long brown hair down to her, like her waist, above her ass, however you want to put it. And her figure, etc., etc. Something about a blue coat, but I don't remember seeing a blue coat. So anyway, the road was blocked because of all this social distancing, so they've been blocking off a lot of the roads in West End for us. So I realised I wouldn't be able to get around that way, so I went round the other way. So as I came up on the street, I saw this lady who came kind of rushing out quite quickly, looked at me like, yeah, is it you? I said, yeah, it's me. And she just jumped in. So as they normally do, you get a customer in the car, you say, how are you today? She said, okay. He said, the day's going all right. She said, yes, thanks. But she said, no, not really. I said, why not? She said, well, I just come out of the nick. And I was only meant to go there for an interview. And they put me in the cell for 5 hours. I wasn't expecting that, so I'm not really in the best of moods. Okay, sounds interesting. Now, this kind of response actually tells me as a taxi driver that the person wants to talk, they want to offload, but they need some encouragement, they need some reassurance that you're there for their interests, you're going to listen to them, or just along those kind of lines. So I'm kind of pushing, but I'm not, to find out. I said, I hope everything went okay though eventually. She said, well, not really, I've got to go back there. I said, okay. She said, well, I'm on a charge. I said, really? She said, yeah. Oh, okay. So we kind of start to talk about small talk and other things, really. She kind of starts to talk, then kind of retracts and gone quiet and what have you. So I start to tell her about some early dealings when I was a younger guy and problems with the law and all the little things that teenagers get involved. And I told about some family members who are, let's say, much more familiar with the law than they should be in that respect. And then she started to ease up because she said, yeah, that was like me as well. At one time I had 5 family members in on a wing, yeah. So I said, okay. So then it turns out that the lady, I said to her, are you so I said to her, it's not gonna go on and on and on, is it? So she's like, nah, well, and it's just kind of all this, it's like a game. It's a bit like a cat and mouse game. Are you going to get me to talk? Are you not going to get me to talk? She realizes that I want her to talk. I haven't got the audacity to say to her, I need to record this for my podcast, because I don't think that's going to go down too well on this time. You've got to be a judge of character, and her face and her body language, does it say she's the kind of person who listens to podcasts or things? But I did mention about the podcast. And she said, nah, I don't listen to all those kind of things. Well, what is podcast anyway? So I said, I sort of explained it to her, and I said to her how, But to get to the chase, it turns out she had to go to the police station for attempted murder. So I went, whoa. I was thinking maybe clothes, stealing clothes from the supermarket, you got caught, something like that, blah, blah, blah. Oh, attempted murder. So I was like, okay. So there's a bit of an uncomfortable pause. It's like, well, do I carry on with my line of questioning, being a nosy bugger? Or do I leave it alone? So, well, if you know me, I started to ask more questions. But I dilly-dallied around the bush. So I said, well, there's no women's prisons in London anymore. She goes, oh, no. Since they shut down Fiend, there's one in Hounslow. But she knew all about the prisons. And she's just talking about different things. Then I said, I've interviewed quite a few screws or prison guards, for those who don't understand that term, screw. And she said, really? Yeah. I said, yeah, they were quite young though, like 21. I said, one of them knew a lot of the guys who was in the jail that she was keeping in there. But, as the kind of personality is, she's not playing around. You don't expect any favours or anything, etc., etc. So she said, okay. So I said, well, what happened? So she said, well, she was in a party, or get together. And then someone threw somebody out the window, off the balcony. I said, really? She said, yeah. They all run, but I stayed. And the law come and arrested me. I didn't do nothing. I was in shock. I was like, what else going on? But I'm getting the blame. So I said, what happened to the other person? Are they dead? She said, no, they're not dead. They're in a bad way. They haven't come round. They're in a coma. If they don't come round, it's not looking good. Because they're blaming me. They're saying I must tell them who's with them. Well, what do I do? If I tell them, then I get killed myself. If I don't, then I have to do the time myself. She said, there's that law that guilty by association, something like that. But they've done away with that. But they're trying to use a different thing to, make me such and such, make me talk. And I thought, you're on a bit of a sticky one there, aren't you? I said, well, if I was you, I said, I'll tell them I was in shock and my mind went blank. It went so blank, I don't even remember being there. Excuse me. Now that may sound like really crazy, but you see that working on the TV. People actually go into shock that their mind doesn't recall anything. I said, you might as well tell her that. Tell them that and see what they say. What are they going to do? You haven't got any blood on you. You've got matter from that person unless you was involved and you're not telling me. And she went, thanks. And she felt a bit more comfortable and stuff. But I suppose the moral of this story is, if you're going to the party, know who you're going with. And if everybody else is running, you do a runner as well. You do a runner as well. Don't stand around. You've got to be able to snap out that shot. You can't be that rabbit in the headlights or hare in the headlights, wherever it is, because you will surely get run over. She says this woman is about to get run over. But I wish the best with her. I will say it wasn't her first time brushed with the law. She had gone to jail before, so she's probably not an angel. But in this case, she said she didn't have nothing to do with it and she was in shock. And from the way she talked to me, I'm not the worst judge of character. I'll believe her, but such is life. But anyway, on another note, I hope you like that little story. Or real story, I should say, but obviously the person who's talking about it is an ongoing case, so she's not going to talk about it herself. And I'd like to hear what you guys would think. Do you think she should tell? What would you do in that situation? Someone's just thrown somebody else out the window, or a group of people throwing somebody else out the window. What do you do? Do you pretend you're asleep? Do you faint? What do you do? And did the old Bill come along? Are you singing like a budgie knowing that they know where you live and your family live and all the rest of it? Or, England's not a very big place. It's not like you can move to Wales and they can't find you. It's not like America. You can move to Texas and it'll be harder for them to find you. But anyway, feel free to leave a comment on the email linked below, or just generally a voice message. If you're on Spotify or Anchor, you can leave a voice message comment. Soon we'll be putting everything on on YouTube, so you'll be able to easier to leave comments and things like that. Apart from that, don't forget to listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories, all about real investors with real stories, sharing their experience of investing in Africa, considering there's been a rush for Africa for some time, from natural resources to businesses to the fastest growing economies on the planet, which has been for some years. So it may be something you're interested in investing in. That business that you always wanted to do in England that you couldn't because it's been monopolised, but you've got a blank sheet in Africa. Anyway, just food for thought. Apart from that, have a nice day.